Well, for example, I would put next on the list definitely the moral breakdown. You know, President Obama would have never have come out in favor of same-sex marriage if he didn't know that there was a huge cultural shift and moral shift in America. And again, we're reminded of the words of Schaeffer that you began the show with. You know, someday you'll wake up and you'll discover that the America that you once knew is gone. Nobody would have even suspected that a president would do this in years gone by. And this has huge ramifications for the church. I don't want to frighten people, but I think, John, it's very important that we talk very candidly about the implications of this. Very recently, I was involved in some negotiation talks with those who are working on bringing about same-sex marriage to my state, the state of Illinois. And the bill that they proposed is very frightening, if I might say that. For example, one of the things that the bill would say is if churches rent their facilities to those who are outside of their congregation on a regular basis, churches would have to rent their facility also to same-sex couples. But it really is worse than that, John. As I read the bill, I realized that there is protection only for those who are directly involved in ministry, not other responsibilities and support ministries within the church. And I mentioned to them, these legislators, I said, so if you had, for example, a secretary who suddenly announced that she wanted to be part of a same-sex marriage and was getting married on the weekend to her girlfriend, you would have to accept that. If you were to release her on that basis, you'd be in huge trouble. Expect a lawsuit immediately. And the same goes true for other responsibilities in the church. Well, you can see the long-term implications of this. I told them, I said, there's no protection for Christian schools, Christian daycare centers, Christian bookstores, Christian publishing houses. So we are in for what could be really a tsunami. You know, if I could just talk about it for just a moment more, many people think, well, two different views of marriage can exist here in America or other countries. And of course, there's some folks I'm sure who are listening in Europe who have two different views of marriage and two different concepts. But the fact is that because of the implications, ultimately, same-sex marriage legalized breaks down the family in some very, very important ways. We need to recognize this. Here in America, we talk about the Constitution. I can imagine someone riding in a boat saying, I have a constitutional right to drill a hole through my side of the boat. The problem is we are all on the same boat. And as we think about the moral issues here in the United States, they are of huge concern. But once again, the church has to be the church, and we will get to talk about those things.